the Midas Garden, I think we sort of we did the thing you guys intended, which was to build the Midas statue.
Yeah, I mean, the garden itself was supposed to have... Well, exactly. I mean, we had... we just didn't have the resources to build a gigantic statue in the garden.
Right.
So it's pretty much... you had to... There was a garden, and if you climbed about on the roof, you could find a little room that had a hand in it, basically. And
It had a hand and a foot.
Yeah, and that's about as much as we could really do.
And the best part was that the foot, and like up to the knee, I think it was, and then that was the ceiling of the room.
Yes. Well, it's, roof had collapsed or something, probably.
But here we've actually gone and built the whole Midas statue. But obviously we had to keep the hand turning things to gold. That was key.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so that still happens, which is cool. We originally were trying to think of a way to make the monkeys turn to gold, because that would have been really cool.
Yes, that would have been.
Yeah, but,
It's one of the few times when in TR1 when we actually... something I remember sort of debating a little bit, because all of the other areas, all the other rooms in the Greek level, and I think, in fact, sort of throughout the whole game, they all made some kind of real-world sense, There was... They're traps, right? They're sort of ancient mechanisms. And it was only Midas's hand, really, that sort of eluded some kind of magical effect, something that you couldn't explain through any kind of science. And that, I remember, was a really tough call to make, because the goal was not to break the rules of sort of reality. But Lara turning to gold was so much fun to animate that I don't know, I just broke my own rules. Oh, well, I mean, pretty much the original idea for the room was just... I mean, the spikes were just a generic trap for us. Basically, you could walk through them, but if you ran through them or if you fell on them, they're instant death. And they're kind of fun because you can't really tell they're there apart from the floor texture. They have little holes in it, so you had to actually keep your eyes open. I thought it was a really fun little trap. And this was just like with many of our rooms, we would essentially think about some of the basic tools we had at our disposal, and we would just try and see how we could theme a room to it. So this was pretty much originally just, let's make Lara do loads and loads of jumps where you fall straight onto spikes, because it's so painful looking when she goes on spikes.
It all gets back to Toby's love to see Lara die.
What? Look at the... Man, you put spikes on everything, haven't you?
Yeah. We took the idea of the spikes and we made it even more spiky. We gotta step up the challenge. Spikes are fun. Watching Lara get spiked is fun, though we can't actually do that anymore. The ESRB doesn't allow us to impale Lara in a teen-rated game anymore. So you didn't have ratings when you made TR1, did they?
Yeah, we must have done.
I don't know. You impaled her all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah. I mean, it wasn't a good day if Lara wasn't getting impaled.
Yeah. So, well, we can't do that anymore. But you can still get spiked and die. So at least that little fantasy lives on. So this was one of the 3 sort of challenge areas off of the Midas area.
Right, because you got 3 metal bits you have to change into gold to get the door open.
The lead bars that must be turned to gold.
Lead to gold, very alchemical. And basically, but other than the basic tools of sort of traps like rolling balls and spikes and stuff and the breakable floors, the only thing that we really could do in the original TR1 engine was essentially swap rooms. We could build 2 rooms that were identically sized, and we could swap them so long as Lara wasn't in that room, basically. So we actually managed to get quite a bit from that, and the sand puzzle was basically this kind of concept of, if you was to pull out the support of a floor, then the whole room would crumble and fall apart above, type of thing, and you'd get a completely different layout. So you could essentially move across the room in 2 different ways.
Right. The whole real sort of nature of Lara pulling out a foundation of a column be damned.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but and that was pretty hard for us as well, because I mean it's kind of difficult to sell the column. We just had to have like basically a block there you pulled out, and then the world sort of rumbled, and when you went upstairs it was all different. But of course, fabulous new technology
That's right. Now you go down in the room and it rumbles and some sand falls through. And then you go back up and the room's changed.
That's good, yeah.
We've come a long way in over a decade.
It's actually one of the things I wanted to do was be able to show the actual changes that, basically just sort of fake an animation of the change in environment. And we actually did that a little bit in the original TR1 on the last level, where we actually sort of cut away and showed an animated object, and then we did the room swap. And that makes it a lot stronger, but this particular one, even you guys couldn't chew off, could you? Whole room collapsing and turning into...
Yeah, that was we tried to pitch that, and the producers came back and said, no, we don't have, you don't get to build 2 versions of this room. So we did one and we did what we could. It still sells it, I think. At least as well as the original Tomb Raider did. Alright, so this originally was sort of a series of columns with fire in the middle that you had to sort of time jumping across to get to the piece at the end, and there was water on the sides. So our first little pillar here is the homage to the original Tomb Raider pillars, and then the rest of the room we completely changed. So now there's still lots of fire, but we've added more timing elements to it to make it harder.
Well, originally, the whole point of the room actually was that there was actually it was all about the fact that Lara worked like clockwork. So if you kind of start a jump at a certain point, once she lands, there's a specific point when she can jump again, and it's not like any time. Even if you press the button earlier, it's still going to be that specific time. So you can actually do it sort of like 3 or 4 jumps in a row, and you will always jump basically at exactly the same point. So we'd been training people to sort of jump from the very edge, but what we did was we stuck this sort of start line a bit earlier, so that if you actually literally jumped or started running from there and then jumped, then you could make the entire series of jumps in one go, right? And that was the only real way to essentially get through it without being burned. And in the original Tomb Raider, what happened if you walked into fire was that a tiny little bright flame would come out of the back of her shorts, which was telling you that she was on fire, and then you could jump into the water. So actually, I think this ended up being possibly one of the biggest sort of like hardest parts in the whole game. I think pretty much everyone who played it had a massive amount of difficulty trying to actually do it, and from what I understand, I think most people defaulted to literally just running through the fire and taking health packs until they could pick up the thing at the far end and jump in the water to save themselves, which, well, didn't end up being exactly what I was hoping for.
And probably not as fun as you had originally intended.
No.
So we tried to make it more fun this time. Not so cruel.
Yeah.
Yeah.